You'll have to forgive me looking a little bit less fresh today. I'm out camping in the Australian bush and doing it a bit rough. I often contemplate just having one journal that does everything for me, including my personal and my work stuff. But then when I think about it a bit more, I realise it's just not going to work for me. I like to get thoughts out of my head. I prefer my thoughts and plans to be organised in dedicated journals so that when I want to find the information that I'm trying to find, I can find it straight away without having to hunt through a journal that could have it anywhere in any month. For me, just one journal would be too cluttered and would be totally overwhelming. I realise that for some of you, the number of journals I have might be overwhelming. I have 18 journals that are all dedicated to different specific topics. But many of them are journals that I only use occasionally, like my sewing journal, my renovations journal. Gosh, I couldn't afford to be using that one all the time. And I have to admit to being a bit slack with a couple of them, like my memories journal. Today I'm going to talk to you about the journals that I think I am most likely to use in 2026. There's a list of 8, so let's get started. I'm Ruby from the Useful Journal. I do detailed reviews of dot grid journals, perfect for bullet journaling, and then I fill them in. Of course, my main focus for each year is my everyday journal. I use 2 per year, and each month I use trackers to either develop new habits, get rid of bad habits, or simply to track my health and well-being. I typically use 2 journals per year, and the journal I use in the first half of the year tends to have heavier paper, and that means I can play more with paper crafts and things like that. And the journal I use in the second half of the year tends to have lighter weight paper. That has mostly been because I buy a lot of journals for my reviews, and I'm basically just trying to use up the ones that I already own. I've realised after a couple of years though that I do like my everyday journal to have heavier paper, simply because I can just play with it more. I can use any kind of media I like to use. I can cut the pages and they'll stay stiff enough to do what I want to do. So in future, I am probably going to stick to 120 GSM or more. I'm starting the year with my Hemlock and Oak 150 GSM notebook from Canada. This one has FSC paper and recycled paper elements, and I love the ethos of the brand. I'm very excited to support them. My cover was a misprint. The blue foil is meant to be gold, I think, but I loved the blue so much with the pink background that I was happy to buy this one. I'm not so certain about my journal choice for the second half of the year. I'm leaning towards my bespoke letterpress notebook that has 120 GSM paper, although if I use that one, it's definitely going to run over into January or even February, as it has 200 pages. The other front runner is my Notebook Therapy 150 GSM craft paper notebook, which I've been dying to use for years now. Next is my work journal, which I forgot to mention last year because it's not a paper journal. I use GoodNotes on my iPad with templates that I've designed myself. It does everything I need my work journal to do in terms of everyday notes, and then planning projects and tracking tasks and priorities. I love the searchability of a digital journal. If I need to find someone's name in relation to a meeting or a project that happened months ago, I can without having to flick through pages to find it. The best thing about designing the templates for myself is that if I need a new layout, I can just whip one up. If you don't know how to design the templates yourself, I did a 1-year course in desktop publishing at my technical college. There are plenty of pre-made entire journals or specific pages you could use available on places like Etsy. I'll probably update one of my previous versions rather than change the graphics for my 2026 work journal because it takes ages to design the templates. I just haven't decided whether I'm going to go with wildflowers or wildlife. I might add a page to my work journal that completely replaces the next journal I'm going to talk about. My interstitial notebook so far has been all about work. While it started out as a pure interstitial journal, it morphed into something more. So now, not only do I record the times I do things, I incorporate rapid logging so I can just get things out of my head and down on paper. I'd really like to extend my interstitial journeying to my personal life outside work, but I'm not sure it will stick. I've got to work out how to keep the journal front and centre once I'm home. I have two options I've thought about. I can keep my interstitial journal as a separate journal and keep just using it for work and try and use it for personal use. I'm currently using a half-year Stylogy notebook with 52 GSM paper. This notebook is unlikely to last long enough to cover the whole year, so especially if I get a bit more consistent with it. So if I replace it and stick with the paper version, I will probably use a mini paper blanks notebook that has lined pages that a friend gave to me as a gift, and I hate to see it go to waste. I don't love lined pages, but it's actually not going to be that much of a problem for the interstitial journal because I literally am just writing lines of text. The good thing about the paper blanks notebook is that it is small enough to fit in a pocket or a bag easily, so it's easier to carry around, so it's got more potential as a personal use. The other option is to add my interstitial notes and rapid logging to my GoodNotes, my iPad workbook for work, and that's if I'm just using it for work. The main thing would be making sure I work out how to keep my battery lasting all day. I suppose I could charge it at work, I just never think to. Next, we'll get my final work type notebook out of the way. I've now been using this one for 2 years, and it includes all my notes and plans for my journals and my online content. I've been using a Leuchtturm 1917 120 GSM bullet journal, and I think the remaining 70 pages will be enough to get me through the year, and then I'll get to use a fresh one for 2027. I've really loved using the 120 GSM Leuchtturm paper, so I'll be tempted to use another one I have on my shelf. My only concern is that I accidentally bought one with lined paper, and as I just said, I don't really enjoy the look or feel of lines on a page. But again, in this journal too, I rarely do more than write text, so perhaps lines won't be so much of an issue. My reading journal was my absolute favourite in 2025. And I'm eking out the last few pages so I can hold off starting a new one until January. I've got lots of plans for my new journal. Sneak peek, I'm using an Archer and Olive square journal and fitting with the black cover that has a crow on it that was from last year's Halloween series. The whole journal is going to be decorated only in black and white. I do love having a theme for an entire journal. Stay posted for that journal setup soon and a flip through of this year's reading journal. My mental health journal has been a consistent friend over the last few years. I've been using this 180 GSM journal from Torren Marie since 2021, so I think the remaining 50 pages will be enough to get me through next year. Since I'll be working on my ADHD next year and going through a few more life disruptions, I expect my mental health journal will be helping me through some challenges. I won't be doing any more mental health collaborations. Instead, I'll just be doing a monthly page for myself that focuses on a theme that I feel particularly relevant to my own situation that month. I've only recently started a dreams journal, and I'm finding it's a good match with my mental health journal and gives me material to discuss if I go to a therapy session. I can only record as many dreams as I remember, so the rate this one fills up depends a lot on my dream recall. As I've mentioned, a big focus for me in 2026 will be learning to manage my ADHD better. And a big part of managing ADHD is eating healthy food and avoiding snacks and sugar, salt and fat, among other things. My weight loss journal worked well for me at the beginning of 2025, and I find using it means I'm a little more committed to eating healthily, so I'll be using it again. I've actually just started using it again, so hopefully it's still going next January. Like I said, I have 10 other notebooks that are mostly hobby related, and I will definitely be dipping into them at one time or another. I never know which way my brain's going to go or what I'm going to be getting involved in. My outdoors journal will gain a few more entries, as will my board games journal, and I'm really hoping I find the time to do some more pages in my birding journal because I really enjoy painting birds, and I've got several more on my list that I'd really like to try painting. This might sound like a crazy number of journals, but they all have a clear purpose and they work for me. The main one I could probably cut out by combining its function with my work journal and my everyday journal is my Interstitial journal. I've also noticed there's a bit of a pink theme going on with my notebooks this year. Last year it was kind of a green theme. I hope one of the notebooks I'm using next year has inspired you to consider what you might use for 2026. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and fingers crossed that we all have a great 2026. See ya!